Hello, welcome to Daddy the Don. We're back again for another, sort of top 10 list, a bit of a debate. This one will definitely be a bit more of a debate. Today, it's the top 10 centre mids all-time Premier League. This will include defensive and attacking midfielders and mainly the box-to-box ones. Today on the show, I have Jamie. Thanks for coming back on, mate.
Pleasure, my man.
Jay, regular Brentford fan. Thanks for coming back on, mate.
Thanks, Ian.
And making his debut for the show, Dave I. Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, so before we get to everyone else's top 10s or anyone on this show right now, there is a game today, and I do have a Man United and I do have a Brentford fan here. So I will actually go to Jamie first. Before we get to that game, just going to ask Jamie about Villarreal tomorrow. Are you 100% confident you're going through, Jamie?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we lose, I'd sell my kids on eBay. You know, that's how confident. I'll find a way. That's how confident I am. Yeah, we should be going through easy. Not easy because it'd be Villarreal got a problem because they got to come out and score 3 goals, and that's not their game. So 100%. I think we just take advantage tomorrow. Professional performance, just get the job done.
And regarding who you think will play, who do you reckon is going to be playing you in the final? Do you Madrid or City?
I've just got this feeling it's going to be Madrid. I just got this strange feeling. It's basically 4-3. It's basically like 1-0, isn't it, in the second leg? And
it's only 1 goal.
Madrid rested everybody in the week, didn't they? Rested absolutely everybody. And
basically,
when I know they did their celebrations for the league, the open top bus yesterday, which is a bit weird, but they're not like the British, are they? They don't get absolutely pissed up, so they probably just kept it nice and easy. So, no, I just got a feeling. I've just got this little feeling. Pep might do something stupid like he always does, and Barcelona will get the victory. Real Madrid, sorry.
Just quickly on your next game, obviously great win against Newcastle. Tottenham next. You're going to make sure you beat them 4-5-0 for us?
Oh yeah, we'll go with Tottenham. Don't worry about it. It's always Tottenham, ain't it? They're going to be it's going to be an hard game against Spurs because you know how they go. I know how they're going to play right now. They're going to let Liverpool have all the ball. No Liverpool play a high line and just leave Son and Kane up front and just try and put balls over the top. That's their game plan. We know that. Liverpool know that. Tottenham know we know that. So we just got to make sure we don't do anything silly and we'll win that game.
Okay. Just a score prediction for tomorrow, Jamie, and then maybe one for Tottenham as well.
So we'll win 2-0. I think it'll be 2-0 tomorrow and 2-0 against Tottenham as well. And Brentford will win 2-1 tonight.
Oh, yay.
Oris, thanks for coming on. We've only just started. You've not missed much. We just went through Liverpool. How are you?
I'm all right. Bring up the panel.
Before we get to top 10s of everyone, just going to briefly go through Brentford and Man United. So I'll actually start with you, Rolf. How confident are you to get 3 points today against Brentford at home?
I'm not confident, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ivan Toney does a masterclass. But listen, I'm expecting a draw tonight, or at least a defeat, because Man United, we're a shambles right now. We're going to play the likes of Mata. So we're going to play the likes of Lingard and the people that are leaving. So they're going to have their final game at Old Trafford. So, yeah, I'm not confident. I would say 0-0 or 1-1 draw for tonight.
Have you got 3 away games left after today?
Yeah, two away games. Brighton and Palace.
Wow.
Jay, you must be very confident. Do you think you could even get 3 points here?
Who knows, innit? But let's be real. It's Man United and at Old Trafford. Do you know what I mean? So I'm always confident. I have been the whole season, even when we were losing 6 games in a row. But yeah, it'd be another test, innit? Eriksen's playing well. The team are obviously buzzing. So I think the only way is up. But it's still Man United at Old Trafford, to be honest.
But if you beat Chelsea away 4-1, you can beat Man United 4-1.
Yeah, and then we can win the league. Do you know what I mean? So it's not going to happen, though, is it? So
no, exactly.
We'll give it a go, and it'll be a good game. To be fair, I think it'll be quite open.
Dave, I've seen you a few times now on other channels. You're not very optimistic with Man United. How optimistic are you for tonight?
I think Manchester United season can back and explain why I'm not optimistic about this club in any way. I think it would be ludicrous for if anyone had some sort of criticism of myself to be optimistic about this season in any way, shape, or form. I think it's quite reasonable. And you look at this Brentford side, and I 100% agree with what you just said there. This is a side, probably I'd say they're in the best form. I'd say they're the hottest team in the Premier League in terms of good form at the moment, bar City and Liverpool. We'll just put them aside for a minute. You know, they're one of the most informed teams in the Premier League. Eriksen has been brought back to life. Look at the likes of Ivan Toney. He's playing well. Their back three looks pretty accomplished. I've been really, really impressed. You know, they have a good goalkeeper in David Raya. You have Christopher Aguerd, who looks very good as well. Ethan Pinnock is also decent. Rico Henry, Sergi Canos, if they choose to play one of them, both of them, decent wingbacks or midfield. They have the likes of Onyeka. They have the likes of Christian Norgard, who I'm unbelievably impressed by. I rate him very highly. Norgard, very good player. And of course, you have the likes of Wisa and Mbeumo who can contribute to the attack as well. So there are a lot of things about this team that can and hurt Manchester United in every way. But as you said, it is at Old Trafford. You never know. But then again, we got thumped by Liverpool at home, got destroyed by City at home, got dominated, played off the park by Wolves at home. So you never know with this side. For me, I would not be surprised if we end up losing this game. I would not be surprised if we end up winning this game. I just wouldn't be surprised if any result, because regardless of how the result goes, you could probably guess how it turned out. If it's a narrow win, I could probably predict that, either Ronaldo or David De Gea just got us over the line and we just got the 3 points. And 9 times out of 10, one would be right. If we lost the game, I'd probably say 9 times out of 10, the defense is a shambles and they're at fault for the goals. Wouldn't be surprised there either. So to be honest with you, who knows? But I'll probably say a 1-1 draw to predict, assuming on who starts. And at this point, we have to do all we can to push for a Europa League place, in my opinion, because I'm not trying to play in the Conference League. Just anything but that.
Jay, what's your score prediction, mate? Back to you.
Yeah, I think we'll win though, even though I'm a bit on the downplay side. Yeah, I think we'll nick it 1-0.
Yeah, I'll say 1-1. I think I wouldn't be surprised any result with Man United. You just don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a good game. Definitely, I think it'll be an intriguing and fascinating game. So we spoke about that game. We'll move on now to the top 10 centre mids. This is where it's going to get interesting because I have seen everyone's bar Dave's team top 10, and there's a lot of difference in opinions, definitely compared to the centre backs last week. So I'm going to start off with a few people who are not here today. So my co-host Phil, he's away in Mauritius, so he's away for a few weeks. So you won't be hearing his voice, thankfully. He's not in witness protection. This is Phil's top 10. So Gerrard's number 1. So he goes David Silva, Makalele, Bruyne, Fabregas, Yaya Toure, Vieira, Keane, Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard. We have the football bandit. I don't have a picture. This is his top 10. 10 is Carrick. Can't see it there, but 10 is Carrick, Fernandinho, Lampard, Gilberto, Kante, Yaya Toure, Scholes, Keane, Vieira, Gerrard. A lad called Dan. I've met him once, but he's an Arsenal fan. And this is his top 10. Letizia, Ramsey, Kante, Carrick, De Bruyne, Keane, Lampard, Vieira, Scholes, Gerrard. Who said Ramsey? Was that JP there?
Ramsey.
There's a guy called Sean. He's a Chelsea fan, and he doesn't get the point of centre midfield. You'll see a few players that are not centre midfields in here, but he's a Chelsea fan. So ready? Hazard, De Bruyne, Kante, Scholes, Vieira, Silva, spelled wrong, Gerrard, Fabregas, Zola, Lampard. Again, he's a Chelsea fan. The Bear, a Newcastle fan. Gary Speed, Modric, Fabregas, Yaya Toure, De Bruyne, Vieira, Keane, Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard. And finally, Mark Hill, he's hard. Moussa Dembele, Essien, Toure, Kante, Gerrard, De Bruyne, Lampard, Scholes, Vieira, Keane. So I'll get to you now. Does anyone have anything from them? Any of them that's a bit eye-opening?
I mean, a few things stood out to me about some of the selections, regardless of what I think of whether I agree or not. Aaron Ramsey, Moussa Dembele, just very eye-opening, regardless of whether one agrees or not. Just that for those two, those just more or less just open my eyes. 100%.
He is a Fulham fan, so I think that's why he had him in there. Moussa Dembele.
Or no, Mr. Dembele must have been a Tottenham fan. Moussa Dembele played for Tottenham.
Yeah, he started at Fulham. He was at Fulham for a few years. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. Actually.
The only bit of fame Fulham can cling on to.
Yeah, he is actually. Yeah. Okay, so what about you, Jamie? You shouted Ramsey when you saw his name.
Ramsey, Dembele. I mean, look, they're good midfielders, but a top 10. I mean, my number 10 might shock everybody in a way, but I'm not sure.
I like Gary Speed.
Gary Speed's a great shout. I've got to say it's a great shout. I'm
good player.
surprised I haven't seen more Gareth Barry either.
Barry.
Don't sing it once. No, he's in none of them. Mate.
Gareth Barry, Speed, their longevity alone at the top end of the game. You know, you've got to give them credit for that.
Mark Noble then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Noble.
He's better than Gary Speed and he's been in it longer.
Yeah, I ain't got a problem with that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll start with you, Dave. Right? If you, I haven't got your list, so if you just go through your top 10 again, if it's not in any order, no problem. I'll give the floor to you now, and you go through your top 10. What I'll say is, don't ramble on for like 20 hours like Luke. So keep it at a good pace.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I have that same sort of problem, anyways. When I get carried away on topics. Top 10 central midfielders. Well, I'll start with this. If McFred isn't in there, then I may as well just not make the list. You know, McFred has to be number one. McTominay and McFred. I mean that duo, and second by Fellaini, of course. You know, this is some of the best midfielders I've just ever seen in my life. Like, no, I'm only joking. Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, those two have to be in there. I'd say Patrick Vieira, Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, those five I think should be in anyone's list. Should be in everyone's list, to be honest with you. I'd say Claude Makalele. At this point, I'd put N'Golo Kante in there. I think he's justified a place. Cesc Fabregas may not have the trophies for all the trophies to cement it, but I just think the kind of player that he was alone, I think definitely warrants his place. This is a tough one. I'd go Yaya Toure. Definitely one. You look at that season with Manchester City. What was it that he scored? 16 goals. Unbelievable.
Same amount of assists as well.
Unbelievable. Wonderful player during his time at Manchester City. Brilliant player. Has to be at number 9 and number 10. It's a difficult one because you could go many routes. I could go with the likes of David Silva. You could go with the likes of Michael Essien. You could go with the likes of Gilberto Silva, Emmanuel Petit. There's a lot of different routes you can go. But it'll probably be between those. Or one could even say Michael Carrick, or I could give the opinion that I heard, from someone that, apparently Carrick is better than Roy Keane. But no. I'll probably go with Michael Essien. Although it's a difficult one, it would probably come down between him and David Silva, but it'll probably just edge it to Michael Essien.
Okay. Well, regarding you're very similar to me. You've got 9 players the same as me.
Wow.
Yeah, there's nothing really controversial about that. Has anyone got anything about any of them picks? That depends where he puts them. If you had to pick number 1, Dave, where would you put number 1?
Yeah, by the way, I'll say this. Yeah, these are not in order at all. I just threw out 10 just for the viewers to know.
Yeah.
But if I had
number
to pick
1,
number 1, it's really difficult because I have a mix of central midfielders, box-to-box midfielders, ball-winning midfielders, defensive midfielders. It would be really difficult for me to compare the likes of Claude Makalele to Paul Scholes. It would be very difficult. Two totally different kinds of midfielders. One is the innovator of the defensive midfield role, and the other was a box-to-box midfielder who's very dangerous at the edge of the box, created lots of opportunities, scored goals, goal-scoring midfielders. So it is very difficult, but in terms of the defensive midfielders, it has to be Claude Makalele, 100%. If it was just out of the normal midfielders, my match bias is going to get the best of me. I'll probably say Paul Scholes, but one could say Yaya Toure, one could say Lampard, one could say Gerrard, but through my Man United bias, probably just a little bit to edge it out, probably say Paul Scholes. But the others are fantastic as well.
Jay, I'm not going to ask you to go to your top 10 yet. Football goes in your top 10, have you? Why?
Mate, I just there's just so many, and I think I did say it to Jamie before. It's a bit more preference as well. I was actually a Man United fan when Scholes was playing for United. I only became a Brentford fan when I was like 15, when I moved there and started going there. So before that, I was a Man United fan. So he should be there, but I just think there's so many good centre mids, and it just defines what you define as top 10, innit? Is whether they're defensive, whether they're box to box, whether they're attacking, and then how you rate them on that, whether they score goals or whether they set things up. Do you know what I mean? It's just a lot of, and I think mine are more attacking centre mids more than anything else. Do you know what I mean? From my list, so yeah, it's not that I don't think he's a great top 10. He should be in there, but I think yeah, exactly.
One I haven't seen from me. There's a few, but for me, Dave, Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, the man's a fantastic footballer. I mean, he has every element in his game that for me sets him apart from the attacking midfielders in the world. He's I'd say one of the best attacking midfielders the league's ever seen. I mean, some people, may even say that he's on the same par as Bruno Fernandes, or maybe a little worse than Bruno Fernandes. But for me, he's just a fantastic footballer for me. People could say what they want about him turning up in the big games. I mean, very evident of that this season. I mean, but for me, Kevin De Bruyne is just a fantastic footballer. He's got an unbelievable footballing brain. He failed at Chelsea, proved to Jose Mourinho that he had something about him. Went to Wolfsburg, lit it up, came back to Manchester City for what was it, like for almost £60 million that they paid for him. Bargain of a deal, because if we're looking at this man's class and footballing ability, he's probably worth triple the value of what they paid. Probably up to 200 million if you think about.
So why is he not in your top 10?
Because just if you think about it, as good of a player as he is, and I also look at everybody else, and again, it was not an easy list to just construct off the very top of my head, because that just came purely off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But when I look at all the others, for me, I just see a longer lasting legacy than the likes of Kevin De Bruyne. But I think if Kevin De Bruyne is still winning titles, scoring goals, then I think maybe even a season, 2 seasons time, he would have been in my top 10. But I think as of right now, he just misses out. And again, that last spot was between the likes of Michael Essien and David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Emmanuel Petit, Gilberto Silva. Definitely not a difficult decision or definitely not an easy decision to make, but I gave it to Essien. I'll stick by it. I'll back it. So De Bruyne just misses out, but another wonderful player.
Fair enough. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to you now, Jamie. You want to crack on with your top 10? I know who's 10, and I know that's a controversial one, but I'll let you crack on now, mate.
Right, so my top 10 centre midfielders. So number 10, James Milner. And the reason I got James Milner in number 10, it was going to be Emmanuel Petit. But because I used to love Emmanuel Petit when I was younger, I thought he was a tremendous player. But I've just gone with James Milner for longevity. The man's still doing it at the top of his game right now as well. And it's hard to argue with that, from my opinion anyway. Number 9, I'm going Claude Makalele. I like Makalele. I think he was probably better when he was at Real Madrid, but he was still a tremendous player in the Premier League for Chelsea. Number 8, Roy Keane. Roy Keane might not have been technically brilliant, but his captain and leadership skills were second to none, and he was Manchester United in that era.
Second to none to Harry Maguire. Best captain I've ever seen in my life.
Cesc, and then I've got Milner 10, Makalele 9, King 8, and Cesc Fabregas 7. Tremendous midfielder. If he stayed in the Premier League and didn't move, he might have been my number 1. He was a tremendous midfielder. He's got everything to his game. Very attack-minded. Obviously went to Spain. Even played in the front three for Barcelona as a false 9. Extremely good player. Where have we got? Number 6, David Silva. Now, David Silva was a quality player. Man City's greatest ever player for me. For me, Manchester City's greatest ever player is David Silva. I think he's a tremendous footballer. As he got older, he could come back a little bit more into that more of that 6 role almost at times, but advanced more of an advanced midfielder, could play off the wings at times as well. Tremendous player. There's nothing more to say about David Silva. Number 5, Frank Lampard. Now, I'm going quite low in the list. I like Frank Lampard. Don't get me wrong, mate. This ain't a knock to Frank Lampard. It's just players above him I think are better players than him. That's as simple as that. Great goal scoring midfielder, probably one of the best goal scoring midfielders of our lifetime. Getting into that box late, better than anyone else. Yeah, tremendous midfielder, really good technical midfielder. And I just think the 4 players above him that I've got above him are just better footballers than him. In 4th place, I have got Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne, I could, people say, why you got him higher? That Kevin De Bruyne is a magical footballer, but I've seen what he does before. His movement with the ball, he's running on the ball, he's passing. I've seen Gerrard do that years before he was doing it. I've seen Scholes doing it years before he was doing it. I've seen Lampard do it years before Kevin De Bruyne were doing it. We just, as football fans, I think we live in the moment and don't remember the past. And for me, De Bruyne is doing what I've seen before. And he's doing it in an elite level as well with Manchester City, obviously. Number 3, got Patrick Vieira. Patrick Vieira, my number 1 foreign midfielder ever in the Premier League. Tremendous footballer. When he came to the Premier League, he was a bit erratic. He did like a red card to start with. And then it all calmed down a little bit. And I remember Wenger buying him and Petit, I think, at the same time. And no one knew who they were. And they ruled the midfield for Arsenal in them years, especially Patrick Vieira, tremendous footballer. Could do everything. Could do absolutely everything. Maybe not a goal-scoring midfielder, but he did need to do that. Number 2, I've got Paul Scholes. I'm not one of these Liverpool fans who don't think Paul Scholes was any good. I think Paul Scholes was a tremendous midfielder. He had everything in his locker, could score goals. He was the first midfielder to score 15 goals a season before Gerrard and Lampard turned up. He could spray a ball from 50 yards to a person's foot with his eyes closed. He was a magical footballer. Couldn't tackle to save his life, mind you, but he was a fantastic footballer, highly, highly rated, and makes me sick he played for Man United. Number 1, low, Stevie G. I know Stevie G's never won a league title, but that's because of the teams he played for. If he moved to Chelsea and went and played for Chelsea, he would have won league titles. It's as simple as that. The man's fantastic. I'll take my biasness off a little bit here. Looking at it, I've got to look at it seriously. And there was nothing Stevie can't do. The man even played fullback in the Champions League final and marked Serginho out of the game to help us win that Champions League final. He's a tremendous footballer. He can play the 6, he can play the 8. He was England's best captain for a while. One of the only players driving them on. Tremendous man, and that's my top 10.
Yeah, I like that top 10. A few names I'd like to bring up, if anyone else does as well. You didn't put in Xabi Alonso. Is that because he didn't play long enough?
Yeah, because I like Xavi, but I didn't put Mascherano in either. I could have easily stuck Mascherano in there. But, their name, Alonso was there, 3 years? I mean, should never have left. I don't know don't know what gas Rafa Benitez was smoking, but trying to sell Alonso for Gareth Barry at the time, I have no idea what that was about. But yeah, it's just a longevity thing. That's why Milner's in my 10.
And no Yaya.
No, yeah. I think he had 2 good years. When I look at his Man City career, for me, he had 2 good seasons, and that's it. Dropped off extremely quickly as well. His drop off was massive, absolutely massive. And then when you moan about not getting a birthday cake, that's it for me. You know.
Okay. Anyone got any more questions? Jamie's top 10?
You know, Paul Scholes has never scored 15 Premier League goals, not once.
Well, in all competitions, I think. I mean, like not.
And he only did that more. He only did that twice.
Yeah, but I think that's what I'm saying. He did that before any like Gerrard and Lampard.
He did that. That was when Gerrard and Lampard were playing.
Surely not.
It was.
Surely not. Jesus. What did I do?
Check the stats.
I must have read something completely different. Still don't change my mind. I love Paul Scholes. He could have, for me, Paul Scholes could have walked into any team in the world while he was playing in midfield for me.
No, fair enough. Oris, I'll go to you now, mate. Do you want to go start with your top 10?
Yeah. My 10, for me, I picked Essien. For me, I think he was very good for Chelsea. For me, Essien was, for me, people that don't mention high enough. For me, Essien was fantastic for Chelsea. Number 9, I picked Kevin De Bruyne. For me, very, very world-class player for me. If you look at his career, what a player he's been for City.
You sure he's not better? You sure he's not better than Bruyne?
All right.
You sure?
Number 8, I picked David Silva. For me, best. For me, I agree with Jamie. Best. David Silva was the best player for Man City, midfield wise. David Silva, man. I mean, what Manchester derbies? I used to watch David Silva. I was actually old enough to watch him. For me, what a player, man! What a player. But shame he left City. But to be fair, he was kind of old, so he had to leave City. Number 7 for me, Fabregas. Another player, very, very, very good player for me. If you look at his passing abilities, his passing ability was fantastic for me. Number 6, and this is the guy for me, number 6, who the guy that created the CDM position, and that was Claude Makalele for me. Very, very, very underrated for me. For Chelsea, he was superb, Makalele. For me, he was the one that created the CDM position, in my opinion. But if people disagree, then that's fair enough. Number 5, Yaya Toure for me. Another player that doesn't get mentioned enough highly for me. I think it was a beast. Number 4, your midfielder Graham, Patrick Vieira. I went for him. Vieira for me, leadership. If you look at him, what you want from him, leadership. That's what he has. Number 3, I've gone for Jamie's midfield, Gerrard for me. I hate the Shibin narrative. Oh, he hasn't won the league. Yeah, he's never won the league with Liverpool. He's still a great player, even though he didn't win the league. So he's still a great player. For me, Gerrard was phenomenal. Even though that famous quote, we don't slip up. But yeah, we'll talk about that another day. Number 2, Roy Keane. Number 2, Roy Keane. Leadership again. Fantastic. Probably our best captain for Man United, I would say. I don't know if Dave agrees, but best captain for Man United. I mean, it's him and Gary Neville up there. But
and Harry Maguire as well. Don't forget Harry Maguire, elite captain.
Yeah, of course.
But
and number one for me, Paul Scholes, absolute monster for me. His pass range is just phenomenal. Paul Scholes, number 1.
No, Frank Lampard.
Yeah, I messaged you. I said I had to pick between Gerrard and Lampard, and it's hard, man. Lampard, I rate Lampard, but unfortunately, he didn't get my list.
Scholes again, number 1. I thought Scholes was good, but for me, he's not number 1. For me, he's not. I think he had too many flaws in his games to be number 1. He couldn't tackle to save his life. So why is he number 1?
Xavi and Iniesta said he was number 1, mate. So he's number 1. It's fucking true. It's fucking true.
That is true. That is
It's
true.
true. That doesn't make it true, but it
No.
makes the people's opinions true.
Fair enough.
Jamie, you
That's where it
surprised that
comes
Team
from.
Man United fans have put Scholes instead of Gerrard?
No. You've got to go with your own, ain't you? You've got to go your own. You've got to go. You got. If you can't pick up your own player, who the hell can you pick up?
Listen, Gerrard is phenomenal, man. Yeah.
Roy.
Anyone got any other
Manzi,
questions
man.
regarding
Manzi,
that?
what's
Stop.
comment?
He'll,
No.
he'll perform much better he'll perform much better, if he's out the club.
Who's that? Is that mine? Yeah, I changed it. I changed it. I had to change it.
Change this into Bruyne, but that's your top 10. For me, Lampard should be in there. And again, I like Scholes.
Instead of who? Because I didn't know who to put instead of who, though.
Yeah, no, Makalele definitely. Yeah, it's a good list, to be fair, mate. You can't argue with it. And I'll go back to Jamie's list. Right, Makalele.
James Milner.
Milner, Makalele, Keane,
Milner's a
Fabregas.
good shout.
Milner's got 3 league titles.
Milner definitely needs to be there.
He's got more than Gerrard.
Not for me.
In terms of longevity.
He's been playing football since he's been playing football.
This is Liverpool hack, man.
No. I'd pick Milner if he weren't a Liverpool player. Milner's been playing football since he was 16 in the Premier League. It's now like 36.
Milner's good.
I don't think that
put
means
Keane
his
in Scholes
ability.
1 and moan if he puts Milner in.
Milner.
Listen, Paul Scholes was fantastic, mate.
Milner's won 3 league titles as well. I mean, he should be there. And by the way, Orest, Milner would walk into your midfield right now. So that's not.
Even with walking.
He would.
Well, for Matt Fred, I think I could walk in. You're up. Do you need to put it on, or do you got it?
It's my go. Yeah, I got it here.
Yeah. All right. Go on then, mate. Fire away.
So,
Controversial1.com.
No Brentford players. No Brentford players.
We spoke about favoritism as well, yeah. So I'm going number 10 is Eriksen. I don't care. But also, my list isn't actually very based on longevity. Mine is peak performance as well. So where Jamie said Yaya Toure had a storming season, I put him quite high up because do you know what? That storming season was fucking amazing. So that's what I'm going on as well. So Eriksen, a little bit of favoritism there. After that, Matt Lattis, the guy, not destroyed, but hampered his career just by staying at Southampton. But if you watch videos of Matt Lattis and kind of saw him back in the day, what a fucking player he was. Yeah. Then we're coming up to Luca Modric. I think, I know he's in Spain now, and that don't really make a difference. But he's probably the one player who's got longevity in my team, who I've based it on that, and I just think he's an absolutely amazing player. Destroyed England for Croatia at that. I can't even remember Euros or World Cup. One of them had our pants pulled down in the second half because he was pulling strings. So yeah, Modric.
Still doing it at 35.
Yeah, and he just pulls a pass out of his pocket like it's no tomorrow. Next one. Yeah, he's crazy. Then we got Kante, and for me, Kante is like, if I had to compare him to a Chelsea player, not compare him to a Chelsea player. So like, Leicester won the league, and I'm not saying it was just Kante. They had a whole host of other players, but he then moved from there to Chelsea and then won several other things. Won the World Cup with France, and he just, when he's on the ball and when he was at his peak, he was just probably one of the best players I've ever seen in that position in the Prem. So yeah, Kante's in there. One for Liverpool, Xabi Alonso. I'm massive Xabi Alonso fan from back in the day. So I thought he was a great player. This is going to upset Jamie. Gerrard's in there. Number 5, I put Gerrard. Cool. So yeah, bit of a contentious one, but it's not really based on anything. I think again, Gerrard was an amazing player. You can't really fault him, and after here, he's kind of the top 5 is the most debatable thing in the world, I think. So then I got Vieira again when he was at Arsenal. Like I said, came in, nobody knew him, and just kind of ruled the Prem in that position. All Roy Keane could do was try and beat him up rather than actually play football against him. So yeah. After that, Yaya Toure. So yeah, like I said, I think Yaya Toure is probably one of the best players ever to have a season in the Prem. I think he is. I can't even remember when it was. Halfway through his Man City career, that season was just crazy. And then for me, one of my favourite ever players in the Prem, Fabregas, number 2. Again, bit of a contentious one. If he'd had longevity, like Jamie said, I think he'd be everyone's up there, top one. But I think kind of when he came through at Arsenal, he was a player everyone was scared about. Like when you used to watch Match of the Day, just everyone was talking about Fabregas. The guy was ridiculous. And then
you say longevity, but he played 350 games in the Premier League.
Yeah.
He didn't play enough games.
Yeah. Well, mate, he's number 2, so don't try and hate on me.
Oh, I love it. He's an Arsenal boy as well as Chelsea, so you know.
And then hands down for me, best ever centre mid in the Prem is Frank Lampard. I don't think it's even contest, but there we go. I'm not even a Chelsea fan.
Is that why though? Is it just because of his goal scoring record from where he plays, or?
Yeah, no, I just think technically as well, I think he fucking had everything. People, yeah. I won't go into it too much because it will cause too many arguments.
Yeah, Jamie.
You got Gerrard's goals, Lampard. This is brilliant.
I just think he's so good. He was just so good. Scored goals.
Jamie's going to cry.
Created that late run into the box. He didn't create it. There was fucking players playing in the 80s that were doing the same things. You know what I mean? That we haven't seen, so we don't really have an opinion about. But the here and now that we know, for me, Lampard, and it was when I was 15. Do you know what I mean? Where, like it was around those times. Do you know what I mean? Like 12 till 20 or whenever, and those are the peak years for watching football. You don't give a shit about much else apart from playing football, watching football, and being football, and kind of that's what got me inspired was Lampard.
I've got no problem with Lampard, number 1. I thought he was a quality footballer.
Jay, obviously Oris and Dave are looking very unhappy because you didn't add Keane or Scholes, both not on that top 10.
Roy Keane, oh my God, he's the most overrated footballer player anyone's ever spoken about. A leader. If he was a leader, he would have been a good manager, wouldn't he? He was a fucking shit manager. Yeah, he just got players scared a little bit. I see a video of him shouting at Ronaldo. I'm thinking, geezer, I don't think you've even got enough talent in your left toe than what Ronaldo has had throughout his whole career. Keane was terrible at football. Used to kick people up in the air, and if he played nowadays, he wouldn't get into the squad because he's nowhere near good enough. He'd be getting red cards every week, and he was getting them every other week when he was before.
Yeah, you know when you said you support, you know when you was little, are you sure about that?
Yeah. I've got the treble poster, bro. It's before you were born, cuz.
Dave, mate, respond to that because, mate, I was not young enough to watch him. So, Dave, when you respond to that.
I mean, it's everyone's opinions, to be honest with you. I mean, I respect that everyone has their opinions and whatnot. I think it should be standard that he's in the top 10. Do I think? I agree.
Come on, as a technical football player, is he actually better than?
I don't think technically he was not anywhere near the likes of Scholes and Lampard and Gerrard. Nowhere near it. But that wasn't his game. His game wasn't to be technical and to be, getting balls and scoring goals from the top of the box. That wasn't his game. His game was to go and lead by example. And of course he got red cards. Obviously he did. Yes, but then again, as more of the defensive midfielder, do you not have to go and get red cards at times? Yes, of course he made some absolutely outlandish challenges, got himself sent off stupidly on many occasions. Yes, he was not a great manager, but then again, not all footballers that were absolutely amazing are great managers. Gary Neville. Look at Gary Neville. Look how great of a player he was, and look how awful of a manager he was. I wouldn't say exactly the same, but you look at Frank Lampard, isn't the most convincing of managers, despite winning 1-0 against Chelsea at the weekend, isn't the most convincing of managers. I'm not 100% convinced by Frank Lampard. Maybe he could be a good manager in the future, but I just don't really get all the hype around Frank Lampard right now. I know he likes to play attractive football, but you're not at a club and at, in a good place to play attractive football. But for me, so I don't necessarily agree with that. But then again, it's everyone's own opinions. But I just throw out just a few points, but I do agree that Roy Keane he was not the most technically gifted midfielder. No way. He's spot on when he says that.
So interesting. I'll go now then, I guess. So my top 10, honourable mentions. So players that are not in my top 10 that I need to bring up. Xabi Alonso. I thought he was a quality player. I know he only played 3 or 4 seasons, but if he played longer, he would have been definitely in the top 5. Michael Essien. Very similar to what Jamie said about Yaya. I think Essien was only really good for a few years, and then he got injury prone. So for me, that's not enough. David Silva just misses out. He just misses out. I'm a big fan of him, but I couldn't get him in there. Luca Modric only did a few years in the Prem, but he was fantastic, brilliant player. Just because he played for Tottenham, really. And another one, low key one, Gilberto Silva. Again, that's me being biased. Another player that was very unsung for Arsenal in the Invincible year. He was a great player. Anyway, my top, great player. Top 10 for me. So number 10, Makalele. I think we've alluded to the fact he created the CDM role, especially in the Premier League. Yeah, great player. Technically not the best, but he knew what his role was. He knew what he had to do, and he did it every time. And he stopped people from. Well, he just stopped the teams. He made Chelsea the team they were. He protected Terry, Cavadio, and he deserves to be in there. Number 9, Kante. Kante was the best player in the world for a period. He won the Premier League 2 years in a row in his first 2 seasons. He won Player of the Year in the Champions League final. That's enough in alone to get him in the top 10 for me, and that's why he's in there. He's still at his prime. He's still good, and he's still got years to come, and he's won the World Cup. So, Kante for me. I'd understand why people wouldn't put him there. It's very similar to the Van Dijk argument, but no, for me, he's got to be in there. And if he can carry on at a decent level for the next few years, then he'll go further up. Number 8, Fabregas. He was our best player for a 3 or 4 year period. Came back and helped Chelsea win leagues. Again, another player. If he stayed in the Premier League for 3 or 4 years more, definitely winning further up. His technical ability, his vision, the way he could pick a pass, he could score a goal. He was the leader as well. So, yeah, cracking player for Chelsea and Arsenal. Yaya Toure, a lot of people have him a bit higher or lower. I am at 7 because I do agree with Jamie to an extent. He wasn't good the whole time at Man City. His last few seasons, he was a little bit of a bit part player. But in his prime and in the first few, when they first got the money, he was the spearhead along with Aguero, and he was the reason why they won that first Premier League and won the first FA Cup and all that stuff they won before they dominated the league. And he was one of the main reasons. On his prime, he was unplayable. But yeah, he did drop off quite quickly, but still deserves to be in that just for that. Number 6, Paul Scholes. Again, he's a great player. He's a great player, but he's not better than others. Paul Scholes was best in the 90s. For me, pre-2000, he just wasn't as good. He was a fantastic player in the mid-90s, 98, 99. Oh, he was immense. But if you look at his goal-scoring record, it flopped off near the end. He couldn't tackle. He didn't have the greatest. He had a bit of anger issues. He made a lot of mistakes. But yes, he was a great player. He's got to be in the top 10 with his passing, his shooting. He's dogged. He had vision. So for that reason, number 6. But I just wouldn't have him number 1. I don't. I understand Man United fans, but for me, he's not number 1. And it's opinions. I agree with everyone else. Everyone has opinion. But for me, he definitely there's better players in him technically as well. Number 5, Kevin De Bruyne. If he continues at this level for the next 4 or 5 years, he'll be number 1, easy. And I know he's 29 or whatever, but he's a magnificent player. My father-in-law Dougie went to see Man City Brentford this year, and I said, "So who's the best player on the pitch?" He looked at me and went, "Well, it's the first time I've watched him. He is a tremendous footballer. He is by far Man City's best player right now. He is just a joy to watch." And I think you said the same, Jay. To see him live is just God,
something else.
It's vision, his passing, his shoot. We did a watch along for the Man City game, Jay, and a couple of them balls he put through. When Foden missed that chance, he looked and then saw he was there and he put the ball across. It was just masterclass. And a lot of these players on this list couldn't do that because he's the exception. He's probably the only attacking midfielder in theory, where a lot of them are more box to box. Great player, has to be number 5 for me. Can even move up. Number 4, Frank Lampard. Not Frank Lampard. Number 4, Roy Keane. Not technically the best. Pardon me. But he's the leader. He had that bottle. He's a winner. He could push the team. He could get stuck in. He scored a few goals early on in his career. I know people say he wasn't as good as what they believe, but then everyone's got their opinion. I think he was a great player. There's 3 players better than him. But he was Mr. Man United in the 90s. Let's not make no mistake about it. This is one occasion when me and Jay probably disagree. I think he's a great player. Great player. Number 3, Frank Lampard. I'm actually never been his biggest fan, but you can't, if you look at his record and what he did for Chelsea when they first won the league, you could not discard him. A lot of people slag off Frank Lampard. And when I was younger, I used to agree. Listen, he's not anywhere near Gerrard for me, but he is a much better player than what people give him credit for. He gets slagged off a lot and people say he wasn't as good. He scored 150 goals as a centre midfielder for Chelsea. He was a top goal scorer one year. He won PFA Player of the Year. Cracking player. If it weren't for Lampard, I don't think they would have won the league. He was the missing piece of the puzzle. He was that one that made it work. If he left that team, they wouldn't have been as good. Simple as. He was that player that could play anywhere in the midfield. Number 2, Patrick Vieira. One player, he could do everything. I think there's only one other player that could probably do everything better. For me, Vieira, he was strong, he was powerful, he was fast, he could tackle, he had vision, he was a leader, he could pass, he could shoot, everything. On his day, he was the best centre midfielder in the world for a long time. He battles with Roy Keane. Just when he was on song, the way he glides down the field and the way he could put a tackle in with them long legs. Yeah, I was the Arsenal boy. I'd love to put in one, but I've got to be honest here. I think there is one player better, and that is, for me, Steven Gerrard. For me, it's not an argument. I'm a neutral, and I'm telling you, he's the best by a mile. Gerrard could tackle, could lead, could score, could get in the box, vision, pass, header, duel. There's nothing Gerrard couldn't do. Everyone else on that list, probably bar Vieira, in my opinion, has a weakness. Bar Gerrard. And that's why Gerrard's number 1, because he has no weakness. Nothing. There's nothing he couldn't do. Yes, he didn't win the Premier League. But if you look at him best player, he scored goals. He dragged them out of bad situations. He played in an average team during the early 2000s. If he played in Chelsea's team or Arsenal's Invincibles or Man United, he would have won Premier League. It's that simple. It's like someone saying, he's better than John Terry. Well, if you put John Terry in the French team in 1998, they still would have won the World Cup. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm sure Jamie will agree with me here, but for me, there's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Scholes was good. Lampard was good. Lampard's better than what people say, and I'm glad someone put him first because I think he needs a bit more respect. But for me, I look at it all, and I've got to say, Gerrard, I have to. And as a neutral, I'm telling you, if you watch him peak what he did, he picked that team up by the scruff of the necks, especially when he was with Alonso. Them two together was a very underrated duo. But anyway, what's that one thing?
Yeah. You bang on.
I'm right. If you look
That's
at
good.
that list, of my
10.
list, they all have a weakness. And for me, I think Vieira and Gerrard are the only two who don't have a weakness. Vieira could score a goal and shoot, but not as good as Gerrard. And Gerrard, it's nothing Gerrard could. Frank Lampard couldn't tackle. Paul Scholes couldn't tackle. Roy Keane couldn't fucking skin a few players up or have that ability to run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, the Lampard-Gerrard thing will always be an argument, won't it? Till the day everyone dies, I think. It'll always be an argument because they're both English and they were both around at exactly the same time. And so you're always going to get that argument between two, and then Paul Scholes was a little bit before him. But yeah, I like Scholes. I think Scholes, Lampard and Gerrard to me are the best three in the Premier League era, and they're all English as well.
I just think Gerrard is a
Not for me,
typical Liverpool wanker. I just can't stand him. He's probably the best. He probably is. I just can't stand the guy.
Dave, you want to shout out your channel, mate? I know you got to go.
Yeah, for sure. Go and subscribe to my channel, Premier League Primetime. We're on the road to trying to get at least 130 subscribers by the end of the season. By the end, I'd say, of this school year in June. So, and go check us out on Instagram as well. Go check us out, PL Primetime. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And yeah, wherever you're watching in the world, have a great day or evening.
Cheers. Okay, Oris, you've been quiet there, mate. You've heard what I had to say. You look a bit pissed off that I'll put Scholes 6.
It's about opinions, isn't it? It's all about opinions.
Why Scholes? Why is he the best again? Tell me. Come on, you've got the floor.
For me, I just think if you watch him, I know tackling was his weakness. I understand that he couldn't tackle for his life, but for me, his passing ranges. Oh my, him and Fabregas. This is why I love Fabregas and Paul Scholes. They both have their strengths, and the strengths is the passing ranges. For me, Paul Scholes, unbelievable player. But then again, it's all about opinions. If he's six, he's six. But yeah, Lampard for me. I rate Lampard as well. Don't worry, but I had to. There's so many players up there, so
There is. Is there anyone we missed, guys?
If anything, it's too hard. There's so many good players. We probably missed some from the earlier days. Do you know what I mean?
There is some quality, ain't there?
There's players like JJ Okocha. Like, what a player he was. But was he a bit of a Dharma Traore where he was fantastic to look at, but didn't really have an end product, which is why he didn't get in the team, in the top 10s. Do you know what I mean? So there's so many players there.
There's loads.
How many times Joe got goals? JJ Okocha was a great player. Well, probably think of you got to remember, like, Didier Deschamps, Ruud Gullit, they played for Chelsea. I know they weren't as good, but they still come and played a few years for Chelsea. I think a lot of people forget that in the 90s. Emmanuel Petit, I know Jamie brought him up earlier. Mascherano. I completely forgot Mascherano. You said Mascherano, and then fuck.
I think that's why, though, he's a bit forgettable. Like, that's why he's not in your top 10. He was a great player, but like he's a bit forgettable when it comes to others.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, Modric's got mentioned. I think Modric is in Jay's list.
Yeah, but
Modric quite there's loads, ain't there?
We've been graced with so many that it's too hard.
It's so much harder than the centre back one, isn't it? Because we sort of all had the same sort of centre backs apart from you, Jamie, who said that Radaby, but.
Legend.
All right, guys. Before we finish up, we're just going to go back to today's game, Brentford versus Man United. I'll give you all a second. I'll let you have a think about it. I want you all to come up with a guarantee that's going to happen in the game today. So I'll start with it. I'm going to take an easy one. I'm going to say Tony's going to get a goal, and it's going to be a penalty. I'll start Jamie.
Penalty at Old Trafford. Come on.
Yeah. There you go. Guarantee happening. It ain't Old Trafford. It ain't Old Trafford in the Fergie era. Fergie's not shagging the refs anymore, so it ain't going to get it.
A guarantee.
That's going to happen, Jay. If you're not sure, come back to you.
Well, come back to me in a minute. Yeah.
All right, Oris, you got one?
Yep, Ronaldo scoring tonight.
Oh, Jay. Jay's not happy. Go on, Jay. What's yours?
No, I don't mind. Ronaldo's my favourite player ever, so I'm happy if he scores against us. We're safe. I couldn't give a fuck what the score is. And Bruyne to hit the post.
The United player to get sent off. Jamie, you got one, mate?
Yeah.
Christian Eriksen's going to score a free kick.
It's about time. I'm not going to say it's about time.
And I don't think Brentford have lost a game when Eriksen's played.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah,
5 wins and a draw.
No. When he started, no. He's been on fire.
Man's a G.
Just going back to last stream, centre backs. Jamie, you were on there with me. Obviously, I shared Ollie's list, and I spoke to him since. I don't know.
Jesus. This is the guy with the ice cream. Yeah, there you go.
He said that he would now do it differently, realising he made a few mistakes.
Yeah, of course he did.
I think he's 17 though, isn't he? So
yeah, but Varane's played like 4 games.
Yeah, cool.
Varane.
Yeah, but like when you ain't seen some of the players play, it's hard to say and then say they're your favourite. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's probably only going back like 3 years, ain't he?
Yeah.
Jamie, he probably got a bit of brain freeze.
I've got to say, he looks much older than 17.
He's a good lad. Do you know what? He's a good lad. We did a watch along, and it was one of the funniest watch alongs I've ever did because he was 3 minutes behind me, and we scored, and he's like, "You haven't scored, have we?" I went, "I'm fucking celebrating."
How did you do a watch along in your?
Hilarious. Because you're lying. I'm like, "No, I'm not. We scored."
Oh, how did you do a watch along when someone's 3 minutes behind?
I don't know. He stayed on. Bless him. Bless him. Anyway,
yeah.
guys, it's been a good one. Not as argumentative as I thought, and but, a lot of differences. And unlike the centre backs where it was Terry and Ferdinand. I think there's 4 or 5 different players getting brought up here. It always, for me, Gerrard all day long. I'd get why people say Lampard. I'd get why United fans would say Scholes. But it is what it is. So that's a bit for today. I'll go around and just let you shake yourself out. Jay, I know you're going to say Daddy in the Dodds. So you go first.
Yeah, just sometimes I talk on Daddy on a Don. Sometimes I don't turn up. Do you know what I mean? So,
Like last time.
I think I was asleep, mate. I think I had 3 beers and went to sleep or something.
Yeah, you can find me on Oris Talks Football on YouTube.
And finally,
so you can find me on Jamie Phillips Football Chat as my YouTube channel over there.
You got any watch-alongs this week, mate?
I've got the Liverpool one tomorrow and the Real Madrid one.
Come on, Villarreal. Come on. The submarines are coming for you, Jamie. The submarines, come on.
As long as they stay underwater, I don't give a shit.
Listen, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. And that's it for this time. We'll see you soon.
See you soon, guys.
You got